Hi, everybody. So, blessings on your solstice, wherever you are around the planet. Um, I'm dedicating this to those primarily who are located in the Northern Hemisphere, i.e., they're navigating the darkest, shortest day, the winter solstice. And this was, when traditionally the Holy Grail rite of passage would be done specifically to support men who are governed by the sun. I've spent my day doing back-to-back readings for students of mine and really got taken down in my own midwinter descent. And so I want to speak from that place. So in the ancient world, the 4 days leading up to today, the fifth day, the day of ether, spirit, we would recognize that there was a death process going on. Yeah, all that needed to be released from the previous year that no longer served. But it's a death of the ego. So you might have noticed yourself feeling triggered or your wound being up. For myself, it played out in my body as a knot in my left glute, which is sciatica. So I looked up what's the emotional cause of sciatica. And I was unaware, but it's literally a bundle of nerves. Okay, there's a stellium of, again, 5 nerves. 5 is the number of the 5-pointed star of Venus, which is on the symbol of the flag Morocco, which is where I am currently. And it represents earthly wisdom, the wisdom that we find by doing that descent, by going down and humbling our ego, by meeting the wound, understanding that the wound that we walk with is a great teacher. This is the medicine of the earth, okay? And Chiron, who was raised in a cave by serpentine parents, he's the masculine archetype that governs the throat chakra. He's the archetypal energy of the spiritual teacher that lives in all of us. He bows to the wound. Yeah, he acknowledges that we must love the wound, rather than reject the wound. And what this day is for is to do a duel with the inner saboteur, the part of us, our nemesis, that sees us through the critical mind, sees us in a limited sense, defines us by our wound rather than by our light. So who we are when we're playing at our absolute smallest, our most vulnerable. And the more I discovered about sciatica, it's when we're eclipsed by victimhood, okay, where we're in a state of such elevated nervous tension that, our body is sounding the alarm, calling us back to be in our body, to not be disassociated. So, what I journeyed, there was so much emotion, so much grief that was coming up, a sense of deep failure, and the maiden in me wanted to be rescued, but of course it was my own inner masculine that needed to rescue me. But the parable of the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, which is often trotted out at Christmas, for me, this is a very ancient Grail parable, because like the triple-faced crone goddess, it's a time for us to process the past so we can be present and move forwards into the new cycle, because this is the crossroads of death and rebirth, the winter solstice. And it's like we're in the belly of the beast, or in the jaws of the crocodile god. And all the trials that we've traversed, we're wrestling to make sense of them, to see how they've served us. And if we don't do that, if we don't journal them, we interpret that they define us, that we have failed. And our own inner critic can take us to the brink where we think that who we are is so worthless and wrong and delusional, that nothing we do is right or is of any value, that we even start to have suicidal ideations. And I might just immediately respond to that comment by saying, I would never act upon suicidal ideations. I have a daughter and I would never cause that torment to her. But I've been in that place many, many times, having 5 planets in Scorpio, feeling things so intensely that you just want the suffering to end. And so, as I was dueling my nemesis through the night, as I'm sure some of you watching this may have been, given that it was our collective dark night, and it was exact at 9:20 this morning in Morocco, that the ultimate existential grief or dilemma is the feeling that we have been forsaken, i.e. abandoned by spirit. And we're only in that state if the mind is dominant, if we're in a state of separation, seeing spirit as something outside of us. As soon as we understand that we are the divine, we're all part of the divine, there is no division. Therefore, there can be no abandonment except us abandoning ourselves. So, in that moment, we take back our power and we say, okay, if I created that, I can create the solution. But what happens when we're so over-identified with our wound, with our wounded perspective of ourselves, with the ego, with the mind, is that we lose all confidence in ourselves to manifest our greatest heart's desire. Instead, we focus on what we perceived we got wrong, our bad choices. And the Grail teaches us about the power of our choices. So we need to be able to view our choices at this time of the wheel with the benevolence of the good Father, the good King, who says, okay, they might have been errors in judgment. You might have acted recklessly or hastily, not done due diligence. But what did you learn from it? Yeah, we need to focus on what we gained, because every experience is equal. Whether it has what we would deem a good outcome or a bad outcome, the lesson is equal. So therefore, every experience is equally valid. So nothing is wasted, everything is composted. So, right now we are experiencing a huge changing of the guard, because Pluto has now moved into Aquarius, the sign of the new 2,000-year astrological age. We're all being put through a death and rebirth. So for most people, the past year to 18 months has been a huge death, an acknowledgement of what we're no longer in alignment with, what was chosen by our younger self, which we've now outgrown. And the shifting of the guard means that it is time for us to build the new earth. Okay, not just talk about it, but take right action, align with it in all that we think, say, and do. Live it. Because to not live it is to be living a lie. To not live what we know is true in our hearts, the way that we need to live, which is in community, in connection with the earth and her cycles, and honouring the cycles of the cosmos. This is how we restore heaven and earth as custodians. And in the readings that I've been doing, I'm seeing it mirrored back, that many are getting a new assignment. Yeah. And this includes no longer doing things on your own, no longer doing things that are purely transactional, no longer doing things that are primarily online. Because the digital space, while we are told repeatedly how convenient it is a devil's bargain. It is dehumanizing. It elevates the nervous system. We spend more time trying to prove and validate our identity, because it's very solar plexus, rather than actualize things in the world. In other words, we're complicit in creating an artificial reality. It's not life. It's not real. And artificial intelligence is a lie. It's an illusion. It is a replication, but it is not authentic. Therefore, it cannot offer true sustenance, true fulfillment. And whilst initially it provided a wonderful opportunity for us to share ideas and come together and weave a new framework and understand that together we are this web of creation, hence the World Wide Web, like great-grandmother spider spun into a new vision. That vision must be built in the world. Yeah, we must create it in 3D, not in this illusory world online, because it is subject to manipulation, deception. One can cast an enchantment, a glamour, just like in The Wizard of Oz, where he casts up on a big screen a projection of reality. And today, I went and saw the ABBA AI show, and it was really disturbing. They looked so real, and yet there was something about it which didn't feel right. They were soulless. Okay, so the more we choose to align with a soulless existence, one that is made of the mind, just as Eve was made of Adam's rib, yeah? These are prototypes, yeah? These are models of humanity, but it's not true humanity. It's not part of the world soul, the anima mundi, which is the axis, yeah, the bridge between heaven and earth, around which we need to make our life central to, yeah, in service to the collective world soul, not to an illusion. So what we've seen in the digital space is, getting further and further away from the truth, an illusion being dressed up as truth. We've had more people creating online courses promising you absolutely everything and anything, but a lot of these are just offering surface level, no substance. It's like they look wonderful, they sound wonderful, but it's all marketing. So to making it hard for people to discern what's illusion and what's truth. So too, we're seeing, anyone can create an online course these days using AI. Okay, so plagiarizing a collection of work that is then pieced together on the understanding if you change something just 10%, then you don't have to acknowledge, the copyright of the person, or even birth it through gnosis. Yeah, truth is something which is channeled from the quantum field of infinite source intelligence, and to do that, one must activate their kundalini, their life force energy, which is the bioelectricity of the body, and it is the feminine. I learned recently that lightning is not what we think we're looking at. In other words, I met a man, and meteorology was his absolute passion. And he told me that lightning, the negative charge, is invisible. What we see, the positive charge, the lightning spark as a fork of lightning, is from the earth, that the earth's charge is positive. This is the bioelectricity of Gaia. So it is through daring to humble our ego and to live more simply, more connected lives, rather than trying to achieve more quickly, yeah, in a digital way, but to slow down and to build things through our connection and communion with each other and the earth, that we will create true abundance and true security. And this is not taking the devil's bargain. Okay. Now, the last full moon that we had was in Gemini, which is, the sign of the false teacher, or the great deceiver, or the black magician, when operating in the shadow. Somebody who tells you what you want to hear, but there's trickery involved. They're self-serving. But the positive expression of Gemini is the alchemist. Someone who says, you know what, I'm going to transmute my shadow, and I'm going to activate the magician within, the sacred magician, the magi, through activating the kundalini of both the feminine and the masculine within, to become a clear conduit for anchoring heaven on earth. And it's time for us to do that. It's time. Many are getting a new assignment. So yeah, I'm happy to announce that I'm going to have a global online gathering for everybody that is feeling it's time to build the new earth. Whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. But if you're an agent of Venus, it's time. It's time for us to acknowledge those that are here for the people, need to come together as a collective of sacred leaders and discuss what needs to be done, because the time is now. So stay tuned for that. To be involved, I'm going to share a link to join me off social media, because, like many, I've all trust is broken. I can no longer reach my community because I'm so shadow banned. I've had so many videos taken down, and yeah, it's a futile exercise. So if you want to be a part of my community, I invite you to do so off those compromised platforms, in a closed space called Heartbeat, where we can speak freely, and know that every post I shared share is going to be seen by you if you choose to tune in with a notification in your email. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I'd like to invite you to just something to lighten up, basically, since many of us are in the darkest time of the wheel. I have been video editing my menopausal road trip to Morocco, which is following my star, Venus. I received a vision to create a goddess temple here in the land that was once where Venus was venerated. Hence, you still see the five-pointed star on the flag. And it's been quite a curly trip, and one that wouldn't have been possible without the support of my friends. So yeah, I've put together a video diary, and I'm going to share that on Heartbeat. So come and join me there. And yeah, it'll be in 4 parts, but the first part I'll make available now. So yeah, have a beautiful solstice. It is a sacred, holy day. It's where the word holiday comes from. Be gentle with yourself. It's a time for hibernating if you're in the northern hemisphere, a time for processing the year that was, counting the blessings, and understanding that what seemed like a curse will turn out to be a blessing if you can find what the lesson was. So a time for journaling. And then the next 4 days are for intention setting. Okay, the next 4 days we spiral out, setting intentions for each of the 4 directions, each of the 4 elements of the earth, starting in the east, the air element, which is what beliefs, what thought forms do you want to, or affirmations will be your mission statement for the new year. The next day, fire will be what action do you need to take in alignment with those visions, those thoughts, those beliefs, those affirmations. The next day is what emotional attachments do you wish to invest in? Yeah, who do you need to speak your heart to? And then the 4th day, what physical things do you need to commit to in order to build your dream in the coming year? For the brothers and sisters in the southern hemisphere, it is the summer solstice. It is the time to share your light and to make it known who you are, what you're about, and share your gifts and talents and your light with the world. So thanks for tuning in. I'll put links in the description to join me in Heartbeat and to watch the first episode of my menopausal road trip to Morocco to follow my star to create a temple of love that serves the new earth. Thanks so much for watching. Blessings wherever you are.